We find doing residential houses, individual residential houses, as the most challenging and the most enjoyable process of architecture, because we love to see the reaction of our clients and hopefully the positive, happy reactions after the projects are done. Then you are actually catering to the personal needs of an individual, which is not there when you are doing an institutional or a hospitality project, because that is catering to a larger realm of society. The prelude that the client gave us, they wanted a small, well-ventilated house with their parents living with them. So they wanted a house which had, catered to their personal needs of all the year round sun and air, and it had to be Vastu compliant house. Secondly, since the client had been working in merchant navy and had an exposure of all the places in the world and collected lot of curios in his stint as a merchant navy guy.
I was fortunate कि मेरे को बाहर का बहुत एक्सपोजर हुआ बिकॉज आई वॉज इन शिपिंग, तो मैं हर चीज़ कलेक्ट करता रहता था घर कैसा होना चाहिए। तो मैंने घर में हर जगह वेंटिलेशन का ऐसा किया, हाई राइज बनवाई जिससे हॉट एयर ऊपर जाती है। तो मेरे घर में गर्मी में भी जनरली अगर आप देखेंगे तो इतनी गर्मी नहीं होती, तो विंडोज़ और सबकी प्लानिंग भी ऐसी की कि जब तक सन है तब तक कहीं ना कहीं मेरे घर में आता रहता है। तो इट इज़ गुड, वी गेट सनलाइट, वास्तु के हिसाब से बना। एंड देन आई ग्रू अप इन फ्रेंडशिप विद आर्किटेक्ट आशीष जी, तो उनसे मैं डिस्कस करता था और ही ऑल्सो एज ए पैशन, तो हम लोग के पैशन मैच भी हुए और somehow I was fortunate to get a house like this.
He always wanted कि नहीं, मैंने बचपन से सोचा हुआ है, especially the pool part also. He wanted a pool and garden became my passion slowly with time.
Talking about the constraints in the house, by mandate, the front edge of the property, that is the first 30 feet of the house, is the minimum that we had to leave according to the bylaws, and the rear edge 20 feet had to be again left open, out of which 40% we could cover on either side of the setback. We had a mandatory requirement of leaving 10 feet edge towards the eastern side. So once we had this basic requirement of the rear edge 20 feet setback, front setback as 30 feet and side setback as 10 feet, primarily it gave us a lot of opportunity to design a house around that with a lot of ventilation into it. Now here came the expertise of the landscape architect, my colleague, architect Nikita Paliwal. So she came up with this idea of breaking this monotony, and to me that has become the face of the house, wherein she suggested to carve out a small space from inside our own property and leaving it on the road edge.
हमारी ये डेप्थ रोड से बहुत कम थी, तो ये हुआ कि कैसे इसको इंक्रीज़ करें, तो इसलिए हम थोड़ा सा पार्क में से काट के हम लोगों ने ऐसा किया और इसकी एंट्रेंस जो थी वो वेस्टर्ली की तरफ से कर दी, जिससे कि वास्तु के हिसाब से भी अच्छा था, डेप्थ भी हो गई। एंड आई ऑलवेज वांटेड टू कीप बुद्धा, तो दिस वाज वन ऑफ द पॉइंट व्हिच आई वांटेड टू गिव इट टू द कॉलोनी पीपल आल्सो।
The family is a small family of the owner, their parents and 2 kids. So we designed a house where we just did 2 bedrooms on the ground floor for the senior people and designed 2 living spaces, one on the northern edge and one on the southern edge of the property. Southern edge of the property was done for the winters and the northern edge of the property was done for the summers. Winter edge or the southern edge used to open into the front lawn, and this summer edge used to open into the rear northeast lawn. This by default created or gave us the form of the building. which became as the guiding principle of the planning. So if you see schematically, the house has been divided into 4 zones. And this cardinal line, which is there on the planning, has 4 different activities. This becomes the entrance to the house during the whole day, opening onto the front lawn. This houses the kitchen. This cardinal edge is the internal courtyard and the rear entry on the last cardinal point. And that is how this whole planning came into the light. Since the client wanted a lot of greenery, air ventilation into the house, we intentionally created this internal courtyard because this could give us a lot of natural ventilation into the center portion of the house. If you see the planning and the intention of the architects, we have a lot of opening on this edge on the first floor and almost closed edge on the southwest area of the house, which reduces the heat gain from the southwest and lot of clean ventilation from the northeast edge of the house. So we were toying up with the idea of using wood windows, UPVC windows or aluminum windows. Wood became sort of a redundant option for us because of the maintenance reason and its limitation in terms of the openings that we could create. Not openings in terms of the fixed windows openings, but the openings in terms of the openable windows. So the second best option that came to our mind was using prefab UPVC or aluminum windows. That gave us a flexibility of large openable windows. Now the question was which brand to take. Now the client had a house in Mumbai with lot of rain which is there. So he suggested us using a Fenesta brand because he had used it there in Mumbai in his house and he was highly satisfied with it.
जब आशीष जी से बात हो रही थी, बहुत खुला खुला चाहिए था. would have been very impracticable and aluminum I didn't want to use. तो UPVC की चॉइस थी. तो मैंने उनसे डिस्कस किया, बोला कि अब आई हैव यूज फिनिस्ता. फिनिस्ता इज़ क्वाइट फेमस इन बॉम्बे एंड अदर प्लेसेस, तो वाई डोंट वी यूज़ दैट वन. एक्चुअली ये काफ़ी लो मेंटेनेंस भी है, चीज़ें ख़राब नहीं होती हैं और वेदर प्रूफ है, एक तरीके से वेदर टाइट भी है.
बहुत साउंड प्रूफ भी है. मतलब इट इज सो इतना ज़्यादा साउंड फ्री है कि अगर मैं डोर बंद कर लें तो बाहर का बिल्कुल
सुनाई नहीं
पता नहीं चलता है.
We sort of started doing the detailing of the windows and all the fenestration to be used in the house, and thus used huge 10 to 12 feet wide windows with lot of sliders into the house, which enabled lot of air inside the house and light into the house. Apart from the windows, the planning, landscape or the green edges, they have played an important role into the facade of the house. To highlight green as an element, we chose a darker ochre color on the facade. That acts as a backdrop to the green area. Coming to the interiors, the client's requirement was very specific, that he wanted his public area, that is the lobby and the drawing room and everything, to be very, very plain and simple, where he could display and decorate the whole space with his collectibles. And the rooms were designed very, very specific to the person who was occupying that room. I think that culminates the whole architectural part of this house.